Come explore Toronto with me on a budget. I'm gonna break down the cost of my entire trip, including the flight, hotel, getting around town, and all the things I spent money on while I was there. I went with my sister and brother-in-law, so there was 3 of us traveling together. For the cost breakdown, I'm gonna share just my portion of the expenses. We went for 4 days and 3 nights, and we were traveling in October, which is just after the peak tourism season. Let's start with the flight. We took a red-eye from Vancouver to Toronto on a Monday night. It was scheduled to leave Vancouver just before midnight Pacific time on Monday and arrive 7:30 a.m. Toronto time on Tuesday. We chose this flight because it was the cheapest and we thought we'd be able to get a little bit of sleep on the plane, then we'd get there in the morning and we'd have the whole day to explore the city. But the sleeping part didn't really go as planned. I probably slept less than 2 hours total, and when we got into Toronto, I was so tired. We were sleep deprived, hungry, and already started to regret the flight. The flight was also delayed by an hour, so we actually got in around 8:30 a.m. I think next time we probably wouldn't do the red eye again. So the plane ticket cost $513. We paid $47 extra for seat selection, and the total cost of the flight was $560. We took the Union Pearson Express from the airport and then switched over to a subway to get into the city. And then in Toronto, we took the subway, streetcar, bus, whatever route Google Maps suggested basically for us to get around. But honestly, we walked a lot. It felt so good not to rely on Uber, Lyft, or taxis to get around. It made the trip so much more enjoyable for me. Compared to Vancouver, I thought the TTC was so well connected and pretty reliable. They have subways, streetcars, buses, and there are so many stops. The trains come so frequently. The streetcars came pretty frequently too. So I was honestly really impressed. I'm not sure how Toronto locals feel about the TTC though, so maybe Toronto people will laugh at me, but I was honestly really impressed. In total, my transportation costs for the whole trip were $54.94. When we got into the city, we couldn't check into our hotel for a few hours, so we walked around a lot and just explored the neighborhood near our hotel. We stopped by a very famous restaurant called McDonald's, where we loaded up on some chicken nuggets and started our adventure. After walking around for almost 6 hours, we were pretty tired and we were finally able to check into the hotel, so we just got some rest before heading out for dinner that night. The next day, we took the ferry to Toronto Island, which cost $9 for both ways. It was super windy and kind of cold, but we got so much exercise walking all around the island. At least it helped us stay warm. It was my first time visiting the island, and I really liked this part of our trip. We got a gorgeous view of the skyline from the ferry, and there was a boardwalk all along the water. And the sun actually started coming out a little bit too. It's so windy. I have my hood on. I had no idea they had trees here. It was really nice to see some of the nature that Toronto has to offer, and it was fun to do something touristy where we could explore on our own outdoors. And I was so excited because we found chicken of the woods mushrooms growing inside of this tree. We headed over to Queen Street West for dinner that night, and I stopped at this store to pick up a bag of chips as a souvenir from my boyfriend. We had a full dinner that night, but we were still feeling pretty hungry when we got back to the hotel, so we ordered a late night snack.
Yo, what do we order?
Juicy dumplings.
Juicy dumplings!
Oh my god, they look so juicy.
This one has stuff inside too. You gotta be careful.
One of the things I noticed on this trip is how colorful and vibrant this city is. When I've come here in the past, I always stayed in the financial district and it was all concrete and billboards. I really didn't like it. But this time I was able to explore other neighborhoods and I saw so much more art on the streets. It was really awesome. It gave me a sense of the culture and character that this city has. I love coffee. I'm definitely a caffeine addict despite my best efforts to cut down. And I was really excited to explore some of the coffee shops around the city. It felt like every block had at least one coffee shop, so there was definitely no shortage. I didn't do any research beforehand and just wandered into the places that I saw when we were walking around. If you have a favorite coffee shop in Toronto, please leave me a comment so that I can go check it out next time. I really liked Mallow Coffee and Bar on Bathurst, and I actually really liked Aroma even though it was a chain. I thought the decor was good, the service was so great, and the presentation was awesome. In total, I spent $58.61 on coffee shops. So far, spending in this video has totaled $692.74. That's it for part 1 of my Toronto trip. In part 2, I'm going to show you the hotel where we stayed, the restaurants we went to, and our bike rental escapades. And of course, the grand total of my spending on this trip. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.